10th. We have a new Career Fair app. It's called Career Fair Plus. It looks like that's just a green dot with CF on it. When you log in, it's going to have a list of all the employers. You can just scroll through. You can favorite them, and then when you go to the map, let's favorite somebody. You go to the map and they're starred on the map. You can tap anywhere on the map, and it's going to tell you who's in that booth. We currently have 61 employers. I'm hoping for over 100. We have a couple of companies already registered for on-campus interviews. So you want to make sure that you're networking and making those connections that you need to make. Thank you. We can provide proof of attendance for you at the career fair, so if any of your instructors are providing you extra credit points or assignment points for that, we can provide you with that proof that you were there. If you wish to get credit, you need to dress professionally, either business casual, which is polo, khaki, something like that, or business professional. We have our model here, suit and tie, the best that you can. Always want to make a good impression. You never know who you're going to be meeting. You might not be ready for a job right now, but maybe an internship or networking for the future. So you want to make sure that you're giving a good impression. You can never make a bad, or you can never correct for a bad impression. Any questions? Our contact information is on the back of the brochure. We have a lot of online tools. Our career guide is online if you don't have one already. On the front page, and we're just here to help you succeed in whatever way we can.
Yeah, like the university is providing resources for you guys to find a job and to get a good job, and so use them. It's you have the resources, just use them, and they're willing to offer all the help. You can go and visit them. They can review your resume for you. They can give you advice on how to interview, how to talk to those folks who are coming to the career fair. So it's a good opportunity for you.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
So how are you all doing?
Tired.
You're tired? Why? You studied online for what? For my class?
No.
Okay. Okay.
It was for your class.
What class was that?
Business.
Business. Oh, that's a shame. So the business college is making you study all night, and you don't do that for our classes? Okay. I will bring that up in the meeting and ask other professors to make their exams tougher. I'm just kidding. Anyway. All right. So, have you guys studied for the exam for this class, or have you at least looked at the material? Okay. It shouldn't be a hard exam. If you went through the chapters just for the exam, for preparation for the exam, go through the slides. The slides are not much. Like if you go to the slides, maybe the longest one was 50, I think, 50 slides, and it's the contracts one, and we studied it on like 2 class periods, so you'll be fine. And the rest are 17 to 18 or 20 slides. So the slides themselves work as a study guide for you. Like the exam, I think like 90% of the questions are coming from the slides. Today we will talk about ethics. So ethics is a very, controversial and wide subject, but we will barely scratch the surface by just talking about it. But I just want to bring this subject up in the class. So we have this definition of ethics, and it's a study of business situations, activities, and decisions. And decisions is the most important one, because this is what you, like, your decisions, your actions are the things that they will evaluate you on. And those are the things that matter. And decisions where issues of morally right and morally wrong are addressed. So it has to do with morals, with morality. This is the issue of ethics. If some institutions or some places or even some professions, they will make something called the code of ethics. Have you heard of that? Like if you want to be a lawyer, you have to study the code of ethics for like the bar that will give you license. And sometimes if you break that code of ethics, it's illegal in some cases. And sometimes it's very, it's in the gray area. It's not white or black. It's not right or wrong. But sometimes if it feels wrong, then it's not ethical. It's wrong. In order to understand the word ethics, we need to understand morality. Morality is the norms and values of a society at a given period of time. And ethics are the moral values and their applications to a given situation. If we look at morality, so what is considered moral, maybe, here in Hattiesburg or in South Mississippi? Do you think the same value applies to like a state like California? Some, but not all. What about like China? Maybe it's, the difference is it's bigger. What about a country in the middle of Africa? The same thing applies on ethics because it depends on the morality. So sometimes what is considered unethical and like in the city or in the United States, it might be, the common practice somewhere else in the world. So in order to understand what is ethical and what is not ethical, you need to actually understand the society that you're living in. Why do people, do the unethical behavior? I listed some stuff like greed for money, maybe ambition for power, maybe to achieve, their own or personal goals. Sometimes they do unethical behavior outside of fear. Because if you come to someone who, have you guys heard of blackmailing? Fear to get caught, so they ask you to do unethical stuff. It happens. Sometimes the pressure of performance. Who can give me an example about the pressure of performance? Something that happened. I don't know how much you guys are exposed to the news, but have you guys heard about the Wells Fargo scandal? Okay. So in this scandal, I think we are allowed to talk about it. Last year, or at the end of last year, there was a big scandal about Wells Fargo, and now they are making a class action. Actually, they agreed to a class action settlement for, I think, $150 million or something like that, because their CEO pressured the employees of Wells Fargo to open, to get new customers and open new accounts. So they couldn't get the numbers that will allow the company's stock or the company's market to keep, rising up. So what they started to do is they will take their own customers and they will open new accounts for those old customers without the acknowledgments of the customers themselves. And they got caught doing so because people start complaining like, well, why do I have 2 accounts and I only have 1? And I have to maintain both accounts. So it's a pressure for performance because the CEO pressured the employees that you need to perform. And at the same time, the CEO was under pressure to actually lead the company to make more gains on the stock market. There is also an important one, the blind following of directives. What is the blind following of directives? What if you have an unethical boss who's asking you to cheat or to do something? You have an obligation to not follow that, to break the law, if that is right or if that is not ethical. Is that right? So, if you follow the photo step of your boss blindly without even using your head or your professional knowledge, then you are doing an unethical behavior that can take you to jail, for example. Let's narrow it down to construction. Let's talk about ethics in construction. I want you all to read the first bullet point. This is an international statistic. What does it say about our industry? Isn't that scary? So worldwide, we are the most fraudulent industry compared to any other industry. You find people in our industry that there are many that they're willing to cheat, they're willing to do whatever it takes in order to win or to get that job or to actually make a profit. And that's mainly because of the substantial capital investment. Usually, any small project, maybe will have a budget in millions of dollars. Any build, like, if we want to build a bobby chain, how much do you guys think that it will cost? We're talking just like one building. Imagine how many buildings do we have around. Also, we have a fierce competition. And always the easiest way to win or to do something is, bend the rules a little bit. Go underneath the table. Also, we have the low price mentality. And most of the projects, now this mentality is going to change, and it's changing with other methods. But the mentality that is dominant is like, well, if he has the lowest price, give him the job. So everyone will do anything that they can in order to lower the price and get the job. And also the paper-thin margins. It's not really clear what is right and what's wrong. You have the black, you have white, and you have the gray area in the middle. In other professions, that gray area is maybe slim a little bit, but in our case, it's white. So you don't really know if it's I'm doing it. Maybe it's in the white area. It's ethical, but maybe I can dip a little bit and get from that gray area. It happens a lot. I will show some of the behaviors that are unethical in our construction, or at least they're considered in the U.S. unethical. In some other parts of the world, some of them they are just common practice and they happen. And everyone in the market does them. So they become less of unethical. The first one is a front-end loading. You'll hear that a lot. And you will practice it to an extent. What is front-end loading? What the folks who work in the field do.
Piece of equipment. It's their truck.
It's not the piece of equipment that's fulfilled. No. So we said that you do an estimate for a project. You have phases. Didn't we say that at the beginning? You have like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you, as an estimator, should estimate each phase on its own, and once it's done, you have to bill the owner will pay you back. And he will take the retainage out of it. Isn't that right? So, where do contractors usually bring their money to start the work? So, where? Bonds? No, not really. So you are a contractor, you have a job, and you want some money to rent the equipment, right? The banks. So you go and finance some of that money. Some contractors will do. Let's assume that the first stage, if you do an ethical estimate or something, right, will cost you, like the number should be 1 million. What some contractors will do, they will price that phase on, let's say, like $1.2 million. So they will increase the price of the first phase and take it out from the last phase. So what will happen is that you will finance less money. So you will go to the bank, and instead of asking for $1 million, you will go and ask for $800,000. And you will get $1.2 million. So you have $400,000 to play with. So you will finance less. You will finance less money. You will end up paying less interest. So you will increase your profit, and you will make the owner pay for that. Is it clear what they do? So let me repeat that again. So we said that we have a project that has 5. You agreed with the owner on 5 phases, and the owner should pay 5 main payments for the contract. Each one of the phases, let's just for the heck of the examples, they say that each one of them is $1 million worth of work. So instead of giving the owner a bid or a contract with 5 phases, each one of them is $1 million, you will give him the price as the first one is $1.2 million. And then the second is $1 million, the third is $1 million, the fourth is $1 million, and the last one is $800,000. So you kind of like moved some of the money for the work that should be done at the end of the project to the beginning of the project. You loaded that at the front. This is why you have the front end loading. You bring the money of the work that should be done at the end of the project. You bring it to the front, and you make the owner pay for it in advance. So you finance less, you decrease your costs and increase your profits on the expense of the owner. Is that kind of clear? Yeah.
How does it increase the profit if you're just taking money you would make from the end of the job and bring forward from the overhead?
So think about it this way. So what is he asking is that it's the same $5 million. How would it increase your profit and affect the owner if you just move some money from that that from the end
I get it now.
to the beginning. So we said that you need to finance the first $1 million. What if you now, instead of financing the $1 million, you will end up financing how much? 100,000. So this is less money to finance. The owner will give you 1.2 million. So you have more cash flow to finance less in the second phase. And during doing the estimate, the financing, the charges will be carried out to the owner anyway. So the owner will pay for your financing if you are a good, if you are a smart estimator or a smart contractor. Because at the end of the day, you need to make some money. So the financing is part of the cost that you calculate.
Okay.
So, and for most of the owners, they don't have the money in cash. They have to finance it themselves. So you're making the owner paying for your financing and his financing at the same time. So why is it unethical? Is it clear? Why is it unethical then? Because the owner is paying for work that has not been done yet. Because he paid for like $200,000 worth of work that is not done. It's maybe a year later or 2 years later should be done. So he borrowed that money, financed it, and he paid interest on a longer period of time, and for the profit of whom? For the profit of the contractor.
If the owner agrees to it, the owner would be unethical.
Because you have an obligation as a contractor not to fool the owner of that. Because if the owner was aware of it, you have to write it in the contract. And I don't think that an owner would agree on paying your interest twice. Change orders. Do you guys remember when we said that we have a change order and you can name your price on that change order? Some subs or some general contractors will inflate that price because they know that the owner or the GC can't hire another sub or another GC to do the job. This is considered unethical. How would this affect your position as a contractor, or what they call it as return work? If you as an owner, you work with a contractor, or you are a GC, you work with a subcontractor, and they, excuse my language, just screwed you up, the change order, like that. Okay. Would you go and work for them in another project? No. So on the long run, it's not in your interest to do so. And what else can happen? If you play this unethical game with the owner or the GC.
Get fired.
Maybe they can't fire you, but everyone wants to stay in business.
Definitely not hire you.
And people talk. So if you're a GC, you go and you see other GCs and you tell them, no, that stuff, he did this and this and this to me. And then no one suddenly is encouraged or wants to work with that sub again. Another unethical practice. It's called bid shopping. How's that?
It's unethical for the owner to do, because pretty much we
So what happens is that I will go and, I will be sitting with, so let's assume that I'm an owner. And remind me of your name, I'm sorry. Connor. Hunter came to me and, he submitted his bid. It's $1 million. So I was like, oh, cool. That's a $1 million bid. So I will, pick up the phone and call Cody. Hey, I have a $1 million bid right here on my table. If you go $900,000 on that bid, the job is yours. Too close. So this is, why is that unethical? Exactly. It's illegal too. If you got caught doing this, you're out of business. Yep. It's a federal crime on all, public projects. Cover pricing. What is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Is it like putting a bid on something in an attempt to like help the owner, like for someone else to put a higher bid on top of yours, like when you don't ever really intend to?
Exactly, but it's not to help the owner. It's to, Hunter.
I was thinking it's similar to like saying, oh, I don't really want this job, I'm going to bid it high in case I don't, and that way if I get it, I get it, if I don't.
It's right, but they don't do it for that reason.
Where like they'll bid high so that someone under them can bid a high price, and the owner will think like, well, this guy could bid really high price, so maybe this one's way too low, and I need to go with this higher one.
That's right. And sometimes they do it because in some areas, or sometimes you are building a job that is in a place that no one want to go there. And in order for the bid to go through, especially if it's like a government project or something like that, you need to have at least 3 people or 3 bids. You can't, do just 1 bid or just 2 bids. So you are a contractor, you really want that job, and you don't have any jobs right now, you were just looking for a job, and you're looking for contractors, so you start calling your friends. Hey, so I have this job, can you just bid on it for me just to meet the minimum quota of bids? And you don't have to do any work. My number would be, around 2 million, just if you put 3 and up, you'll be fine. It's not gonna be you. So you call a couple of friends and they all know that you're gonna win at the end. And sometimes they pay each other. If you do this for me, I'll get this job. The cost will be 1 million. I will charge him a 1.5 million, and I'll give you 100,000 just for you, just to do that for me. It's more of business side. Bid cutting. It's kind of like burning your subs prices. It's like you call the sub and burn their prices. It's very close to bid chopping. Late and short payment. What is a short payment?
And you bid for paying yourselves less money than they actually need.
Exactly. So paying your subs less money than what they really deserve or what you have agreed on at the beginning. So instead of, let's assume that your subs payment is, like $50,000, you go and you just pay him $45,000. And so, of course, the sub won't go and sue you over $5,000 because they will pay more than this money just for the loan. So, just making those short payments can really hurt your reputation, and at the same time, it's anything because that sub has to pay that money to the employees. lack of safety ethics to subs. Safety is always a concern. So if you don't pay attention to the safety of the subs, sometimes it can not just be unethical, it's illegal. Because you're putting the lives of the employees and anyone who's on site in danger. Okay, so I will go fast here to review the exam. I listed all the subjects. So the first class we had the construction industry intro. We'll have 3 questions on this intro. I want you to know the different stakeholders, the different roles of the players. We said that we have the contractor, the designer, the engineer, and we said about each one of them they have a role that they play. And we also talked about the construction categories. Do you guys remember the construction categories? Can you name them?
Business, residential, highway engineer road, highway bridge,
Exactly. So highways, residential,
commercial,
like those.
industrial,
And we said that for the highway, for example, who should do the design? Is it the architect who does the design for a highway?
engineer,
The engineer. So you'll be asked something like this in the exam. Who's going to do the design for this type of building? And you will have 4 choices. You have to pick the right one. I think I touched on most of the questions here. Business ownership. We said that we have different types of business ownership. The partnership, the corporation, the S corporation, the one that I don't tend to pronounce, the sole proprietor. Yeah, this one. It just doesn't come out. I want you just to be able to know the different types and different characteristics of each. Each one of them has a special thing that doesn't apply to the others. Like for example, which one gets double taxed?
corporation,
The corporation. So some stuff like that. So it's the only one that gets double taxed. So when I ask you about it in the exam, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to pick the corporation. Company organization. Also, we'll have, I think, 6 questions on company organization. You remember the difference between authority, responsibility, and duty. Those are important. Basics of organization. There are 2 slides that talk about the basics of organizations. Just need to cover them up. We talked about the employee handbook. And we brought examples from the student's handbook and the USM faculty handbook and all of that. Drawings and specs. We mentioned different types of specifications. Also the different roles during developing the project. No, the last one does not apply. Does not apply. It's not. No. I did it in the last year, and it was so hard, the first exam. So we will cover it in more detail later on. So we'll solve more problems. Just the first 2. No, it's not the exam. I have to take this out. And even this. Yeah. Contracts, we spent 2 class periods on contracts. I want you to be able to compare the different contract types Again, each contract type has a special, characteristic that doesn't apply on the other contract types. So I'll be asking about those mainly. And ethics, I will ask you one question from the slide. There's no chapter. So if you study those 7 slides, you'll be fine. And it will be multiple choice question. Any questions about the exam? By the way, the exam will be 25 questions in total, 25 points. You will have 40 minutes to complete. If you studied well, it won't take you more than 15 minutes to do it. Good. And we have more questions than 25. So, like your exam will be different than your neighbor's exam, and you might not have the same questions. Okay. So don't even bother looking at the screen of your neighbor.